So, this is like, basically, I'm just gonna get this out, like, before, we start the stream. Like, just start playing viewer battles or whatever the fuck we want. I just want to talk about, you know, just what makes Elliana, like, as good as she is. Because, just for the record, yes, I do think she's really good. Do I think she's overtuned? Absolutely. I know it's not to the point where, like, anyone who picks up Elliana can play her well. Because I know this is gonna sound like everybody else who, like, has a really good character. Yes, Elliana is hard. But, in my defense, there is a lot to Elliana that is fully unique than any other character. And most of it is this little bar above Elliana's head. I'm glad to be carried, Dima, but thank you. Like, the reality of it is that, like, once you're in overheat, your options become way less. You do have the added benefit of having these, what's basically a sword hitbox, quite frankly. Because you can barely see the red outline a little bit, but, like, it's the size of that. Like, that's huge. That's about as big as Claren's sword. Straight up. So, like, sure, you're in overheat, you can't fly anymore, you can't shoot at any projectiles. You do have these motherfuckers. And this, like, straight up, this outranges most of the cast. And, with forward smash, like, that's all one big hitbox. And it's out for, like, 3 frames. You know? And it doesn't matter, like, you can hit the maximum amount of range, and it'll be full knockback. Like, this will hit from here. That's so much range. That is so much range. Like, the overheat smashes are crazy. Sort of like, you know, just a little tangent, but, like, basically, holy shit. Yo, Ben, thank you for the 600 bits, dude. Anyway, overheat smashes, they're good, you know, and if you land them, like, that's crazy. The other nice thing about overheat, this little recent addition, yeah, we're gonna push Elliana to the ledge here. Alright. I'm gonna set her to, like, I think 85 is when this will kill. Alright. Oh, that's not the right move. Okay, well, so much for that. Okay, hang on a second. There we go. Oh, wait, they're not DIing. Minor detail. Okay, there we go. Alright, alright, let's head to, like, 90, actually. I think it would kill at that percent on, like, rock wall or something, but... Come on. Work with me here. Oh my god. Alright, now recover. Don't go back on the platform, thank you. I wish there were a better way to, like, just move the other people, but it's fine. Okay, and dead. That's a galaxy at 90. So, like, if you're in an advantage state, like, sure, you can't fly, and you can't really, like, you can't use any of your projectiles or anything like that. But you have these big disjoints, which, like, when trying to get out of disadvantage, like, trying to get a pass across these guys at ledge, that's really scary. As well as you have this big ol' chain that, like, will kill you at 90 at ledge. Because why not? So that, like, overheat, it's bad in some situations, but if you're in an advantage, it's not that bad at all. And honestly, even in neutral, as long as you can, like, space yourself well, you can make it work. Overall, it's not favorable, but, you know, sometimes you're in a position where you can't, like, get rid of your heat safely, so you gotta make use of it, you know? And you can do that. That's always an option that you have. But, no, overheat isn't exactly what makes Elliana good. Like, it's very strong, don't get me wrong. But when, Elliana is not in overheat, she has the best disadvantage in the game. Alright? Now, this is where I think Elliana is in, like, her most privileged state, quite frankly. Because now you have access to all of your heat gauge, all of your projectiles, your missiles, your steam. The fact that you can literally fly up to the top blast zone. Or even beyond that, actually. You know, like, if you're off stage, you can do all these stupid things. And that's only for disadvantage. Now, if you have access to your full heat bar, you have access to all of your full aerial control. And, you know, you have all these crazy extensions that you saw me do time and time again at Elevate. Alright? So, when Elliana is not in overheat, she has 3 things that are really, really strong. First off, her combos. I'm going to set it down to just normal DI and put it down to 0. So, her combo game is insane, right? Like, we all know this at this point. Okay, maybe DI in a little bit. So, first off, let's talk about her aerials. Because all of her aerials are really good. Yes, even the forward air. So, first off, let's talk about the one everybody seems to know at this point, the up air. Alright? So up air is kind of nuts. If you're DIing in on up air, you will just get up aired into up aired into up aired into up aired into up aired. And if you're in overheat, it'll combo into an up smash. Up air's nuts. Pretty much everyone knows this at this point. The interesting thing about it, take a look at the hitboxes here. So, the first hitbox will always send to the right. Or, because I'm facing to the right, it'll always send out. I'll say out. The next hitbox is right in between. Now, this is the scariest hitbox of them all, because straight down the middle of that hitbox is an angle flipper. Meaning that if you space yourself so that the opponent is right in between this angle flipper, it can be really hard to tell where you're supposed to DI. Because if you're DIing it to the right, and you're on the right side, then you'll be sent outwards. And that means you won't be juggled up as much anymore. That's a good thing. However, if you're on the left side and you DI on the right, then you go straight up. You fly straight up. And the juggle continues. Same goes for if you're DIing to the left and you're on the right side. You'll be sent straight up. This is the scariest hitbox of them all, and this is what makes up air so damn good. Because you just need to space yourself so that, as the Elliana player, all you have to do is space yourself, like, on that line. And basically, it becomes so hard to tell, like, which angle you'll be sent at. Set it back to 0. Come on. Okay, come on. Like, look at this. Now, the CPU is always DIing in. Like, it's set to do that, so this becomes free as hell. But if you're an opponent in that situation, you don't really know, like, which angle you're going to be sent at, unless you get hit by the very first hitbox, or by the very last hitbox. The first hitbox always sends to the right, because I'm facing right. Okay, I'll say this. The first hitbox always sends out, the second hitbox always sends in. Alright? And this is what makes up air so strong. What happens if you DI out? Well, at low percents, it doesn't actually matter all that much. You can still combo. Once you get past mid percent, is when it DIing out and up airs doesn't really work as well. And the most you can really get is like a missile. And missile is still good. If you DI out a missile, you don't get that much. At higher percents. But it still like pushes your advantage, and you can still get away with it, like right there. So, speaking of DI out, let's talk about the aerials that make DI out scary. Specifically, Sweet Spot Nair. You see how far that sent him off stage? That was at 30. Alright? That was a DI mix-up, and, yeah. They're dead at 50, because they DI'd out. So, Elliana can DI trap absurdly well. Like, you already saw how well she could DI up, or how well she could DI trap with her up air alone. With Nair, you can DI trap on DI out, and it'll kill ridiculously early. Like that. And that's only with up air. Missile Nair is insane. Like, let's talk about Missile Nair. Alright? Let me get out of overheat. Oh. Okay. Now, like, let's say that, you know, they, here, let's do no DI, actually. Probably easiest on no DI. So, let's say, like, you're getting this up air extension, and then, like, I'm trying to show a Missile Nair here. I'm really failing at it. It's harder on the CPU DI, actually, but, like, if you position yourself right, where you can get, like, after an up air chain, you shoot a missile at him, and you follow up with a Sweet Spot Nair. Right here. Let's try it, like, hang on. I'm messing it up right now. Okay, hang on. You guys probably saw me do this a lot at Elevate, but like that. Like, that already is insane. Because now, you're trying to DI in, and you get Missile Nair. Nair, in a very similar sense to, come on. I'm trying to get a sweet spot, damn it. And Nair can chain into itself. That's the other thing. So if you're DIing in a hard Nair, you still die. Like, Nair in and of itself is the biggest DI trap. Because you're already scared of up air, right? You're already scared of up air, and you have to DI left and right constantly. And there's no right answer at any time. With Nair, if you add Nair into the equation, it's a bit like Cragfair. The only difference is, Elliana can fucking fly. So, that means I can just, like, have all this pressure out at once, and you have to DI every which way, constantly. And keep in mind, we're only talking about 2 of her aerials right now. I haven't even gotten into the sour spot of Nair, which is still insane. Okay? At low percents, right? At low percents, you land a sweet spot or a sour spot Nair, you can combo into it whatever you want. It is so hard for the opponent to escape anything. This is on DIN. Alright? Let's say, what does it look like on DI out? You know? First off, that's a guaranteed mind stick on DI out. On DI in, it's the exact same thing. You can do stuff like nair down air, nair, nair, nair. Wow, the CPU really sucks at recovering. Okay. Nair. Nair jab. Oh, nair jab. Nair down. Oh, nair. Nair forward tilt. Down tilt's a little tricky, but down tilt works best on DIN. Nair up air. Like, sour spot nair leads to so many guaranteed combos. It's ridiculous. And combined with hit falling, like, you don't even have to do this flat drop shit. You can just, you can straight up just do a hit fall. You can straight up just do hit fall nair. And that, yeah. Like, nair is insane. It combos into so much, basically for free. And there is very little counterplay to it. Other than the fact that its hitbox is, like, directly on Elliana. So you have to be close to land sour spot nair, but if you get it, it's guaranteed value every time. It is best on landing. Like, if you try to use it in a juggle, it's not as good as, say, up air. Like, if you're trying to juggle, definitely use up air instead. But still, like, sour spot nair is ridiculous. And the sweet spots of nair, for example, like, you can see it's the two balls on the side. And this is exactly what the DI trap is that I was talking about earlier, you know? And that's also disjointed. So, yeah. So, nair is fucking ridiculous. Back here is, like, nair but more committal. Quite frankly. It doesn't have the sour spot that, oh. It doesn't really have the sour spot that nair does. If you land it, you don't get a whole lot out of it. Usually the sour spot's pretty bad. The only exception is that, like, on DI in, it combos. On DI out, it, like, doesn't combo at all. You have better options, and usually the only time they'll be scared of DIing in on sour nair is because they know the sweet spot's coming eventually. And the sweet spot is like sweet spot nair, but stronger. The reason why I say it's more committal is, for one, it's not quite as disjointed as neutral air. And, you know, again, if they DI the sour spot, like, if you land the sour spot, that's bad compared to neutral air, where the sour spot is, like, actually good. Like, back air is good. It's not as good as neutral air, but it's good. It's just more committal. I mean, it's solid, but it's laggier. It's, there's a bit more... As frame data wise, neutral air is just better. And back air, oftentimes you don't even need it, because neutral air is a back air on both sides. Like, look at that. You got two hitboxes on both sides, along with the sour spot. Like, in most cases, neutral air is strictly better. Down air. Down air is a very similar case to the sour spot nair, in that it has a lot of guaranteed combos. Like, if you down air directly on someone, like directly on top of someone at low percent, you can get guaranteed combos. Very similar to the sour spot nair. The big difference is there has a bigger hitbox, like much bigger hitbox, and it lingers a bit more because it's a multi-hit, and it does more damage. So it's overall a lot more punishing and a little bit easier to land than the Sour Spot Nair. At higher percents, it doesn't lead to as many guaranteed combos. It does have a lot more knockback scaling. But down air, like I said, yeah, guaranteed combos. The other thing about down air is that it forces flinch when they're on the ground. Now, technically, their Elliana does have an infinite. You can get, like, the first 2 hits of down air, and if you, like, land just as the second hit comes out, and then you do another down air, you can, like, force them into flinch, basically, for the entire thing, and it is an infinite. It's frame perfect, and each down air only does, like, 4%, so you have to do, like, frame perfect inputs multiple times in a row for you to get anything. It's not worth it. Don't go for it. It's like a TAS-only thing, but, you know. You can't infinite with it. But regardless, it also leads to guaranteed grounded follows, right? So down air, you know, down air's good. Either way, but, like, with these aerials alone, like, that's an insane combo game, right? We're not even done yet. Because now we have mine. So, of all the guaranteed follow-ups that we had from neutral air and down air, and all the DI traps we had from up air and neutral air, you know, now we have mine. Alright? Now, if you stick them with mine, it's kind of similar to, like, you know, Sweet Spot Nair and Sweet Spot Down Air, that you kind of have to be close to them or above them to land it. Once you stick it on them, it has to wait, like, I think it's 1.5 seconds for it to mine, or for it to arm itself. And then once you have that, you have guaranteed follow-ups. Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? The difference between mine, however, and that compared to this, you know, this stuff, like, this stuff is good, right? Mine activates from a missile. And missiles can go literally anywhere. Like, you can send these things wherever you want, whenever you want, and usually they'll connect. As long as you're, you know, not bad, and you can aim your missiles. Like, you can lead them all the way fuck off stage, right? And then they come back and hit him. Just like that. And it takes a lot of getting used to. Because for one, you control it with your directional inputs. Meaning that, like, not only are you moving the missile, but you're still moving yourself. Like, you're still moving Elliana. So you kind of have to do both at the same time. And, you know, say if you're doing this, like you're doing the circle bullshit thing, haha, I'm doing the circle bullshit. The other person just comes up and hit you, and then, like, okay, you don't know when you're DIing anymore, because you're too focused on, like, the arc directing the missile instead of actually DIing. So it's not, you know, it's not free, but it's still, like, here's the thing, you can threaten with all this circling missile bullshit, and then it's like, surprise, I'm directly on you now. Like, the opponent, like, not only do you have to keep track of, like, yourself and the missile, but so does your opponent. And, quite frankly, as an Elliana player, you have a lot more practice doing that than your opponent does. So, good luck. Like, missiles are just insane, right? And on their own, you know, missiles, they're good at combo extenders. Like, I already talked about Missile Nair and how good that is. But now you add mine to the mix. And guess which move detonates these mines? Oh, wait, that's right, it's missile. And I'm pretty sure all of you know by now how utterly stupid this confirm is. But, yeah. So now you have guaranteed combos that you can easily combo into these, like, overheat smashes. Like, you can combo into the overheat smashes without mine, for sure. Like that. Like, you can do that. You know, you can do nair into F smash, up air into up smash, and those work great, for sure. And they can take stocks really well. The only thing is, it takes a lot more heat management and paying attention to, like, when you're gonna overheat. Like, making use of your hover at appropriate times. Maybe even throwing a missile here and there to, make the heat bar go up faster. But when you add mine to the mix, you don't have to worry about it nearly as much. Mine makes things so much easier for Elliana, it's insane. And, on top of that, it just straight up makes leads for earlier kills. Because instead of forcing yourself to, like, you know, like, overheat at the right time, and sometimes you just have to, like, let the smash go immediately, when you have a mine on them, and the mine is armed, you have a lot of time to yourself to charge it. And you can charge the smash attack. And that way, you just charge when they're, like, detonating. You just charge the smash attack directly over them, and it'll kill stupid early. And there's nothing they can do about it. And keep in mind, we've talked about the aerials, we've talked about missile, and we've talked about mine, and we've talked about how good each of those things are for combos. And now we have the grounded moves! Alright? Now the grounded moves are, like, probably the most slept on part about Elliana. Down tilt pops up, and it's perfect for leading into juggles. And, like, as Elliana, you want the opponent to be in the air. This down tilt is so good. Down tilt 1 can also true combo into jab, if you time it right. Like that. That's true. There's nothing the opponent can do about it. You can also go for mix-ups, like, say I'm overheated. One thing I like to do, down tilt, up tilt. On DI in, it's true. On DI out, they can tech out. So it's a bit of a tech chase situation if they remember to DI out. But down tilt's so quick, the fuck does it matter? Also, mind sticks, lol. Jab. Jab is one of your best DI mix-ups on the ground. It comes out frame 5. So this is Elliana's fastest move. And honestly, for a frame 5 jab, and for a character that likes to be in the air, that's some decent range. Like, I can hit Claren from, like, pretty much across the platform. Like, I have to be, like, a little bit close. Right there. That hit Claren. Like, jab has some decent range. And it pops them away, and you can combo out of it. Elliana's jab is really good. It's really good. And at high percents, it can DI trap. Because guess what? This'll kill. This kills. It DI traps. If they DI wrong, they're dead. So if they're caught in a mine explosion, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna DI out, run up jab, hit them out early, they're DIing wrong, they're dead. Like, this is dumb. Jab is so dumb. It's easily her best move on the ground, and it's just about as good as her aerials in my opinion. It's frame 5, it has decent range. Even on trades, this move is really good. Now if you want a more committal, jab, basically, you have forward tilt. Now, forward tilt has a lot of range, and some very solid disjoint, too. This is just the multi-hit, by the way. The final hit is bigger. Much bigger. And if you hit a forward tilt, once again, similar to jab, you have good combos. It's a bit laggier, so you don't get as good combos as you do off of, like, say, jab. But it's solid. Forward tilt's pretty good. It always leads to a guaranteed missile, if you don't suck at aiming, like I do. And, yeah. Forward tilt's good. If you hold forward tilt at the ledge, like, that's a bit of a pain to get around. Also, by the way, forward tilt can be held. So, yeah, you can, like, mix up, like, how long it stays out, and you force your opponent to work around it, basically. Dash attack is a very similar move. And straight up, dash attack is super good, you guys. Like you can force so many edgeguard situations with just dash attack. You clear the entire stage with dash attack, and then you put up this disjointed hitbox, like, in front of you, right? And in some matchups, this is super good. Like, against Maple, I dash attack a ton. Because dash attack comes out frame 6, it can be held for as long as you want, and it covers so much space along the ground. Like, it's solid, and it forces the opponent off stage. Like, dash attack is good. It is very good. And then up tilt, I've kind of already talked about, but having an option that gets rid of your heat is solid. Having an option that gets rid of your heat and kills stupid early, that's even better. So, yeah. So we spent all this time talking about her combo game, right? And how her combo game is stupid. It's by far the best combo game in the game, right? This is one of the 3 things that I think Elliana has a huge privilege to. Just one. Don't worry, the next 2 won't take as long. But let's talk about the other 2 things. First, the second of which being her zoning. Now, Elliana is a zoner. As such, she has options to some really, really powerful zoning tools. Steam is insane. Alright? Each of these steam clouds right here is an active hitbox. It stays there until someone moves it. Whether it be Elliana or the opponent. If they get caught in steam, they bounce out a little bit, and you can get combos off of it. Or, you can, like, what the opponent can do is they can air dodge out of the steam, and every character can do this. However, you can also just bait out the air dodge. Like, say they air dodge toward me, and I can just cover it with down air, or whatever I want. So steam is already insane. Like, on edge guards, like, they're forced to throw hitboxes through the steam, because otherwise, they just get caught in it. And it just sits there, and it lingers. And it doesn't go away until, like, 5 seconds later. Like, that steam stays out for a long time. And Elliana can kind of just leave it there, and then, like, work around it if she wants to. Steam can be parried, and if you do that, it removes mine. It removes, and it gives you invincibility. Parrying steam is always something you should do if you have the chance to. However, good Ellianas will, like, not let you do that. Because you can't parry it if it's in midair. And guess what Elliana can do? Fly. So that way, you have to force yourself to go through the steam in the air, where you can't parry it. Another nice thing about Steam is that you can put it, like, on a platform. And just say, haha, you can't come to this platform anymore. I'm also going to stick a mine on here for good measure. This mine hitbox lasts out forever and leads to guaranteed combos or another mine stick if I really want to. Transitioning over, grounded mine. It's not exactly like Steam where it just lingers there forever as a constant threat. On its own, grounded mine does nothing. What you gotta do is you gotta blow it up. When it blows up, it actually does have a pretty decently sized hitbox. Like, you see that? That pretty much covers the entire platform. right? Hits 3 times. Lingers for a decent amount. It's solid. It's a bit more interactive compared to Steam, but the nice part about it is that Steam has the 5-minute time limit. That grounded mine will stay there until I die or I place another one. So, yeah. The other thing about grounded mine compared to Steam is that you can't hit that mine away. Like, that mine is going to stay there. You can push Steam away as much as you'd like. That grounded mine will stay there. So, if you have a grounded mine over Steam, it's like, okay, I'm going to push the Steam away, but wait, now I'm getting blown up. Oh wait, now I'm in a combo. And lastly, the part we already talked about, missiles. And missiles can go literally anywhere. We've talked about this. There's a 5-second time limit to how long the missile lasts. One thing we didn't talk about, those are 2 missiles right there. So think of that as what you will. You can have multiple missiles out at once. It does raise up a lot of heat. And yeah. And again, you can control these wherever you want. And if you hit them, you can start combos off of it if you're in a good position. Or you can just zone them out with missiles. That's always an option too. They don't do as much on their own. Like, the missiles only do 2%. And they do a respectable amount of knockback, sure, but it's nothing too special. But the big thing is that it starts combos. And if you position yourself well enough to do that, you're in a good spot. Missiles are breakable, so if you, you can't just, brainlessly missile into someone. Because then they'll destroy the missile and they'll probably hit you too. But you can always mix that up too. Another thing you can do is you can, maneuver the missile around their hitboxes, so that way, one thing I like to do is to do that, or do this, where it hits them towards me, and I can start a combo that way. Because usually, nobody's going to be throwing out hitboxes behind them, right? They're going to want to throw out hitboxes towards me, but I can just, maneuver it around. I'm really bad at doing this right now, wow. Like that. It combos them towards me, so it's pretty easy to start a combo off of. And, you know, it can help. It takes some time to do, and, if you get hit, you will need to DI, and that'll probably, mess up, where the missile's going. But it's always there as a mix-up. It's a very nice mix-up. But, I mean, again, missiles, a very strong zoning tool. Elliana does have some other zoning tools. Another niche thing about missile that I didn't really talk about is that you can bait out parries with the charge, right? You can delay when the missiles come out. So, if they're, trying to, parry missile, I can just charge it a little bit and then let it go. Or, I can charge it fully and release a charge missile. Now, charge missile, unlike the small missile counterpart, does a ton of knockback, and a ton of damage, and a ton on its own. On top of that, it's also not breakable. So if they throw out hitboxes, they're just going to get hit by charge missile. And again, 20% damage. Charge missile does 20%. And on top of that, it detonates mine. That is 52 damage off of just 2 charge missiles. So, take that as you will. Rocket Fist is probably the worst zoning tool out of them all. It's pretty slow. It always goes the same amount of distance every time, and you can't control, when the fist comes out or anything like that. The niche thing about it is that, while the fist, when it's traveling, is breakable, that explosion is not. Now, that explosion covers a lot of space, and it makes Rocket Fist, very, very strong as an edge guarding tool. Yo, Dose! Thanks for the raid. I don't know why it didn't give me a notification, but thank you. I appreciate it. But, yeah, no, this fist, like, in a similar sense to how your smash attacks cover a lot of space, your fist also covers a ton of space. So, yeah. Now that's the second part of what makes Elliana a huge privileged character. The third, she can literally fly. Now we've talked about how her flight helps out her combo game by giving her more extensions than any other character normally would. We've talked about how it helps her zoning in that she can position herself around in the air, around her steam, and around her missiles very well. Thanks for the follow, Feast. But the other thing is that it's just a good movement tool. Like, being able to fly lets you move extraordinarily well. One niche thing about it is that, like, when you first activate your double jump hover, so you can't do this multiple times in a row, only the first time you do it. But you can completely shift your momentum. Like, I'm jumping to the right here, okay? And then I'm gonna hold left and jump. And you see how it completely stops my momentum and starts going the other way? This can be very useful when trying to play neutral. Another thing you can do is, if you hold any aerial in the game, you will, like, get a slight boost from it. If you do this, this also activates that momentum cancel stuff. So you can do stuff like retreating nairs, like you can approach with a nair and back out. This is very safe. And you can bait out a lot of things by doing this. This is very strong. And it's honestly pretty easy to do. In a similar sense, you can also do this when juggling with up airs. Like, you can say, haha, I'm over this way now, and now I'm going to combo you, juggle you like this, and DI trap you more. We're done talking about combos. Just, like, as a movement tool, it's very good. Super jumping. Now, if you buffer double jump and, like, any attack, like, you can do this with any attack. You can do this with aerials. You'll get an extra boost of height, basically. Like, as opposed to, just flying normally, it lets you move faster up in the air. And this is incredibly useful for, like, quick getaways. Like, you can use the F smash momentum in the air you get. You can do that while rising and charging and just, like, say, fuck you to any situation, I'm out of here. See you later. Like, this makes it so that Elliana, like, has, like, big movements, and she can do them, like, pretty easily. On top of just having so many mix-ups, like, being able to fly. Like, that's crazy. So, yeah. She has big movements, and her airspeed, it's not bad. Naturally, it's one of the highest airspeeds in the game. When dashing off the platform, it doesn't change much, so you don't get, like, the force burn effect or anything like that. But it's one of the naturally one of the highest airspeeds. And you can add F smash momentum on top of that to, like, really speed it up. So her movement's good. The thing about her movement is that, and I think the only weakness that her movement has, is that it does take a little bit of time to get going. Like, her hover doesn't start going immediately. Like, you see how it drips down a little bit? So it does take a while. Super jumps, they are pretty fast, but they also require you to throw out some kind of aerial, which restricts any, actions for until that aerial's done. So, they are big movements, and they do go fast. They're just a little slow on the startup side. That's really their only weakness. Is it that bad? Not really. So, you have your combos, which are insane. You have your zoning tools, which are insane. And you have your movement tools, which are insane. All of these combined is what makes Elliana very overtuned right now. There is a limit to them, however, and it's that fancy little bar you see above your head. Once you're going to overheat, you lose most of these. You still have a bit of your movement, but you can't fly. Your combos, you can still combo for sure, and you can combo into powerful kill moves. However, you can't hover to extend your combos. And you also don't have any projectiles or any missiles to extend your combos. Your zoning straight up does not exist. The only form of zoning you have is your big hitboxes and up B. That's pretty much it. However, Elliana, like, if she's playing good, she'll only go into this overheat mode when she wants to, aka when she's in advantage. Because in advantage, none of that really matters as much. In neutral, obviously it matters a lot more, and if Elliana gets caught in this situation where she's, like, you know, playing badly, it's like, uh-oh, I overheated at the wrong time, which happens, the opponent can capitalize on that. But again, it's still not free. You still have these massive-ass hitboxes to worry about, which, you know, can be punished, unless you're a slow character like Crag. Sorry, Crag, that matchup's awful. And yeah, that's about all I have to say on that. So, this is why Elliana is so strong right now. And her weakness, like her main weakness being her heat bar, can be worked around. The other weakness she kind of has is that she's big, and because of her double jump, it's hard to escape combos, which is whatever. Like, I can dish out combos just insanely well, and you're gonna combo me? Whatever, I'll do it back. I don't give a shit. It's also way harder for you to start combo on me when I'm putting up all this zoning and doing all these big movements. So, on top of that, there's a little niche thing I have called up B, which I can use to escape combos if you're, you know, not doing it right. So, sorry. Guess I'm just, you know, you're just gonna have to deal with it. So Elliana, like, yeah, Elliana's really strong. Like, if I were to tell you that Elliana is, like, overrated, and you guys are just bad at the matchup, actually, some of you are bad at the matchup, but if you guys are, like, you know, just like, all your complaints are unjustified, like, no, your complaints are very justified. This character's dumb. But, yeah. Apart from that, I'd say the third weakness, and this is a weakness, is that she is hard. Like, I listed all these things that Elliana can do, right? And, like, her combos, her zoning, and her movement. These are three things that you have to learn to play Elliana well at a high level. However, it takes time. Like, that's the thing, is like, Elliana has the kill power for sure, but the thing is that all of her kills come from setups. She doesn't have a whole lot of moves that kill on her own outside of overheat. And overheat on its own, as we stated, is not good. So rather, you want to have a setup to go into overheat so that you can kill, rather than, you know, just relying on being in overheat and neutral and having to throw out these smash attacks. That being said, she has a lot more, a lot of setups, even outside of overheat, to kill, right? And these setups, you know, they're solid. They can be done pretty reliably, but some of them, like Sweet Spot Nair, it takes a lot of getting used to. And it also requires learning how to use a fucking hover. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is not a single platform fighter game out there that has a hover, other than Elliana. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I've seen nothing like this before. This is definitely like the biggest learning curve to Elliana. Learning how to fly and learning how to manage your heat. And that's the third thing, is that, like, all these combos, like, all these setups, again, rely on managing your heat gauge. Now, you want to end combos in overheat for kills, right? But you have to learn, like, how to hover and how to use your projectiles to force yourself into overheat at the right time, all while doing these combos, you know? Like, it is hard. It is hard, and there's a reason you don't see many good Ellianas right now. Because some of them, they might have a couple of mind stuff down. Some of them, they might have a bit of zoning down or a bit of movement down. There's very few Ellianas that have all three. So, I mean, again, all this stuff, it takes learning when to use it, when to do the right thing at the right time, and it also learns to, like, it also takes learning an entirely new and unique thing compared to any other character ever. Like, period. And, like, I won't deny that, yes, once you learn it, it is beyond rewarding. But this character, like, it will take you time. Like, there's a reason why it took me over a year to get to where I am. And there's a reason why, for the first couple of months, other than the fact that she was bad, Elliana was not seen very much. And there's a reason why Elliana is a bit of a recent development. Like, this character's strong. Yes. Does she need nerfs? Absolutely. Is she hard? Beyond hard. And, like, I know, that's a stereotype of, like, someone who has a hard character, or like a really good character, like, oh, she's hard, guys, but, I mean, she is. She is hard. I won't deny that. And if anyone's going to try and pick up Elliana, it's going to take you a while before you can get this stuff down. But, if you do get it down, it's beyond, like, it's gross. It's degenerate. It's privileged. You know? So, yeah. As far as, like, matchups go with this character, like, again, she has stupid good combos. There isn't a single character that can do shit about that. Her combo game will always be good, no matter which character you are playing. With some characters, like, Raster, for example, her combo game is nerfed a little bit in that it's harder to stick mine. Like, I'd say Raster is probably the hardest character to stick a mine on. Just because they're very mobile in the air, and they're very fast, and they're kind of hard to, like, track down if they DI well. Ori, to a similar extent. The only difference is that, like, Ori can be edge-guarded pretty well, and you can just, like, stick a mine on them during an edge-guard, and that's, like, a very consistent setup of doing it. Otherwise, Ori can be pretty hard to stick a mine on. But, you know, for the most part, the combo game will always be good, and you don't need mine for good combos. So, you know, that's whatever. The big thing that makes Elliana struggle is how well someone can get around the zoning. Like, if you're not using your missiles well enough, or your steam well enough, you know, like, if the opponent can get through that, they'll do okay. And they'll have a better shot at, like, getting in on Elliana and stopping her from doing any of these things. The other thing is that, again, movement. Like, if for, say, example, like, someone gets through all your zoning, as a latch-diff effort, you can super jump away and just go to the other side of the stage. That's always an option you have, is doing this. And, you know, again, this is solid. It's not foolproof. The opponent can always intercept you. And some characters are better at intercepting than others. In which case, they'll have an easier time against Elliana. Characters like Crag can't do shit. Like, you can move around all you want, and Crag gets to cry. Alright? Rano, for another example, has to rely on staying grounded, and sometimes if you do these big aerial movements, if there's no platforms around, Rano doesn't have the airspeed to catch you. Like, maybe he can super jump if you go above him, but just stay away from his vertical lines and you'll be fine. And Rano kind of just has to sit there and say, okay, guess I gotta track you down again. Now, as for matchups, there's a lot of matchups that are, like, either even or in Elliana's favor. There aren't a lot of characters who, like, have a solid advantage over Elliana. In fact, I would say it's, like, slight advantage or slightly better than slight advantage at best. I think Raster is really good. Ori can do really well. Maple can do really well. I think as, like, more niche matchups, I think Shovel Knight actually does pretty good against Elliana. Because with Shovel Knight, you can track them down with side B and with up air. And once you get stuff like Momentum Mail for more movement along the ground, or Gear for, you know, some zoning of your own, like, you can actually kind of contest Elliana pretty well with Shovel Knight. I think Shovel Knight does pretty good. Rano, like, a lot of people, like, especially back when all Elliana did was mine, it's like, okay, I'm gonna jump at you because you need to be above me. Now that the zoning has been more developed and the movement has been more development, or has been more developed, I think it's a lot harder for Rano now. It's still, like, even-ish or slight advantage for Rano, I'd say. Only because with good platform movement, you can work around it. But it's a lot harder than it used to be, and it's definitely not free. If anything, it could be a slight advantage for Elliana. I have no idea, but it's somewhere around there, I'll say even. Zetterburn is in a similar situation. The only thing is, I think Fireball is a little bit easier fighting Elliana with compared to Needles. Because with Needles, like, you take it and it's like, okay, whatever. With Fireball, it lingers a lot more, and it's a lot more of a threat as a zoning character. Otherwise, very similar strengths to Rano, and you don't have to worry about having as bad of an airspeed, so it's a bit more flexible. The only thing is that Zetter also gets edge guarded to shit, so you're definitely gonna feel the punish end if you're playing Zetterburn. That's for sure. Clarin is weird because, for one, you don't have like as many options for dealing with zoning, or frankly, very any. You have your down special, sure, but once you put that down special, it's like, okay, you have the down special right here. Like imagine there's force field over here. All right, see ya. And now you can't put down another force field until that one's gone. So it doesn't really help you that much. If anything, all it does is waste time. It's a no fun zone. That's about it. The thing that Clarin does have, however, is that if you're trying to get in, like, that's a very big commitment against a sword. So, again, with smart movement and knowing how to, if you're good at getting around zoning, it's very doable. It's very doable. And if you like, Clarin has one of the best advantages in the game, if not the best advantage, aside from, like, Elliana. Then, you know, like, sure, you can fly around a bunch, but Clarin has the sword to catch you, basically. If you're in a disadvantage. In neutral, it's a lot harder for Clarin, and Clarin still gets comboed to shit, so I still think it's better for Elliana, but it's hard on both sides, and it takes a lot of patience, too. So Clarin is an interesting one. And again, like, all of this is basically for top level Elliana. Like, if you say don't have your combos down, or you don't have your zoning down, or you don't have your movement down with Elliana, like, any one of those things, if you're not, like, basically perfect, it's gonna be a lot harder. And you're gonna find matchups like Clarin, and matchups like Zetter, and matchups like Rano, and matchups like Fours, matchups like Edelus. Basically, every single matchup's going to be hard for you. Like, anywhere below top level, Ellie is significantly worse. Like, this is a very top-heavy character, and this is a character where you need to have everything down in order to do shit. Like, you're either a top-level Ellie, or you're just an Ellie. I think that's about all I wanted to say about Elliana. How long have I been talking about Elliana for? I've been talking about Elliana for an hour. Jesus.